Olmecas were one of the earliest civilizations in Mexico. If we define civilization as city building, a city building people that leaves some form of written or other kind of permanent communication. That's perhaps how we could define it. They were long considered Mexico's first civilization. We know today that that's not the case. There were other people who were roughly contemporary with them. They show up around 1150 BC and they disappear about 400 BC. Of course, that was not how the Olmecas would count time. They had no idea of Jesus Christ, and certainly not before his time. But during these 750 years, the Olmecs spread across the Mexican Gulf Coast, the southern part of it, from the western tip of the state of Campeche all the way to eastern Veracruz. We know most things about them because of the colossal heads that they left, which have given rise to significant controversies. Apparently these heads are representations of Olmec rulers, kind of god kings, people who had religious as well as political significance. Some people have claimed that they see in these colossal heads representations of Africans, and they claim that Africans could have come over to Mexico as early as 900 BC. Most archaeologists dismiss this as very implausible, but it is interesting that the physiognomy of these large heads is very different from the physiognomy of the contemporary Mexicans of the area of that area, and even the native population. Yes, some people believe that they might have been Asians, but of course if they had been Asians, they would have had to arrive at the opposite coast. Even though this is the only area in Mexico where it's easy to get from the Pacific to the Atlantic, because you have the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, where I believe the highest point is about 200 feet high. So it's the one place where you can cross the continent, the American continent, without having to cross a major mountain range. And so one of the striking things about the Olmecs is that they're at one of the geostrategically most sensitive areas. They're at a really key spot where long-distance trade can be done with both coasts. We don't know nearly as much about the Olmecs as we know about later civilizations. We know most about those civilizations that were still there when the Spaniards came, because there we have written records by the conquerors, and sometimes even Spanish friars and monks would interview native peoples in Mexico to get their story. We also know a great deal about the Maya, of course, because they have left extensive codices and other pyramids. In the case of the Olmecs, we know very little about their culture. We know that they already had a calendar. We know they had a mathematical system. We also know they had a religion that was somehow tied into a monarchy. They had kings, at least until 400 BC, that were recognized as such in a large area. But beyond that, we really don't know very much about the Olmecs.